As of right now, there are believed to be roughly 600 members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua roaming around the United States. Tren de Aragua is a violent prison gang from Venezuela known for robberies, cold-blooded murders, sex trafficking, and prostitution. Tren de Aragua started in the Tocaron prison in Venezuela, where the gang took over, driving out the prison guards and creating their own empire. Now they've made their way to the United States, and within just a couple of years have taken hold in at least 17 states. So how did they get here? Well, Tren de Aragua gang members posed as asylum seekers at our southern border. They came across with giant waves of migration during the Biden administration. At the time, federal authorities didn't know much about Tren de Aragua and weren't ahead of their paths to the United States. The members of the gang also didn't declare that they were part of it, and they also didn't have the gang's signature tattoos when they crossed, which include a 5-point crown, a rose, and a clock signifying how much time they've spent in prison back in Venezuela. Those members also recruited within the United States with those migrant populations. They went into migrant shelters in New York City, for example, and they started to recruit more members who had arrived with those waves. So along with New York City, these migrants had settled in sanctuary cities, and they found their way there because they knew that it would be an easy place to start to unleash crime. And they knew that if they had been arrested, they would also be released likely. Also in the Big Apple, they've established gun smuggling rings in those migrant shelters. They've created snatch and grab moped gangs, and they've also engaged in sex trafficking along Roosevelt Avenue. Tren de Aragua, which is also known as TDA, has also set up shop in places like El Paso, Texas, where they've created smuggling rings across the border, Aurora, Colorado, where they've taken over apartment complexes and unleashed violent crime, and even now in North Dakota. You may have also heard of some of the members of the Venezuelan gang and some of their crimes in the United States. One of the most well-known is the killing of Laken Riley, where killer Jose Irraba is a Tren de Aragua member, as first identified by the Post. It is also believed that the two alleged killers of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungare in Houston, Texas earlier this year are also gang members with Tren de Aragua. What makes them different from other gangs is that they operate more like a cartel. That's according to sources that we've talked to. Those sources say that a concerning element of all this is that even as they come into the country now and move about committing crimes all over the US, there's still a challenge for law enforcement. They're bouncing from town to town, and they're unleashing crime in areas they know that they'll get released, but also areas that they know where the local authorities won't be able to communicate with ICE to tell them that they're back out on the streets. And even if ICE is able to get their hands on them, those gang members also know that Venezuela has refused to take them back at this point. Venezuela also doesn't readily share information on their citizens, so being able to confirm these members of the gang has been very difficult for law enforcement here. That could all change very soon with the incoming Trump administration, which is vowed to find a way to start deporting Venezuelan nationals and Tren de Aragua gang members.